The radio crackled once, then died. Noah Ardent stared at the dispatch console, his fingers frozen over the keyboard. Outside the warehouse window, snow fell sideways, driven by winds that made the metal building groan like a wounded animal. The temperature gauge on the wall read -12. The emergency line blinked red, one caller holding. He pressed the button. Pine Ridge Logistics, this is dispatch. Static swallowed the first few words. Then a voice broke through, young and terrified. Can't feel my hands anymore. Please, we've been waiting 3 hours. The heater died and Marcus isn't waking up and... Sir, how many people are with you? 10. We're construction crew heading back from the billing site. Bus broke down on Highway 287, mile marker 42. We called state rescue, but they said... The line crackled. They said what? They said wait. But it's been 3 hours and nobody's coming, and I think Marcus might be... Noah's chest tightened. He pulled up the weather radar. The storm system stretched across 4 counties. A massive wall of white that wouldn't break until morning. Highway 287 was a thin line cutting through nothing but forest and frozen fields. The nearest state rescue unit was in Billings, 2 hours away in good conditions. This wasn't good conditions. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Sir, I need you to stay calm. Keep everyone together. Share body heat. Do you have blankets? We used our jackets. It's not enough. Noah checked the protocol manual on his desk. Page 7, Section 3, Paragraph 2. In severe weather emergencies, dispatchers must defer to state emergency services. Do not advise civilians to attempt rescue operations. He looked at the clock. 3:17 a.m. He looked at the radar. He looked at his hands. His little sister Amara's college tuition bill sat in the top drawer, stamped final notice in red letters. The eviction warning for their apartment was pinned to the corkboard behind him. He'd already picked up 2 extra shifts this week and his body ached like he'd been beaten. But he knew what 3 hours in -12 felt like. He knew what waiting meant when help wasn't coming fast enough. Stay on the line, Noah said. I'm checking something. He muted the call and dialed his supervisor. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. He tried the emergency coordinator. No answer. He tried the state patrol office. All units are currently responding to priority calls. Estimated wait time for non-life-threatening situations is 4 to 6 hours. This is life-threatening. Sir, if you're calling about the stranded bus on 287, we have that logged. A unit will be dispatched as soon as conditions. They'll be dead by then. Silence. Sir, I understand your concern, but we have protocols for a reason. The roads are undrivable. It's not safe for... Noah hung up. He stared at the muted emergency line, watching the timer tick up. 3 minutes. 4. The caller's name flashed on the screen. Unknown number. 10 men. 3 hours in the cold. Nobody coming. He thought about Amara, 18 years old and sleeping in her dorm room 300 miles away. She called him every Sunday, her voice bright and grateful, telling him about her classes and her roommate and how she'd finally made the dean's list. She never asked how he was doing. He never told her about the nights he skipped dinner so she wouldn't have to take out more loans. She believed he was doing fine. Everyone did. Noah unmuted the line. What's your name? Deshawn. Deshawn, listen to me. I need you to keep everyone awake. Don't let anyone fall asleep, especially Marcus. Make them talk. Make them move. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Good. Help is coming. He ended the call. His supervisor's voice echoed in his memory from last month's safety meeting. You are not rescue personnel. You are a dispatcher. Your job is to coordinate, not to act. Breaking protocol puts everyone at risk, including yourself. Noah stood up. His old SUV was parked outside, half buried in snow. The warehouse kept emergency supplies, thermal blankets, heat packs, road flares, a medical kit that hadn't been updated since 2019. He grabbed everything he could carry and loaded it into the back seat. The engine coughed twice before turning over. The heater blew cold air that slowly, painfully, warm to lukewarm. The gas gauge showed half a tank. Highway 287 was 18 miles away. He pulled out of the parking lot and turned north, into the storm. The windshield wipers could barely keep up with the snow. Visibility dropped to 20 feet, then 10. The road disappeared under a blanket of white that made it impossible to tell where the asphalt ended and the ditch began. He drove 15 miles an hour, his hands locked on the wheel, his breath fogging the glass. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. "Sir, this is State Patrol. We have a flag on your vehicle registration. Are you currently driving on Highway 287? Noah's throat went dry. "Yes." "Sir, that road is closed due to severe weather. You need to turn around immediately. There are 10 men dying out here. We have units en route. In 4 to 6 hours. They don't have 4 to 6 hours. Sir, if you continue, you're violating emergency closure orders. You could be fined or arrested. More importantly, you could die. The temperature is dropping and the storm is getting worse. Please turn around." Noah saw the mile marker through the white, 38. For miles to go. "Sir, do you understand what I'm telling you? If you leave now, you may not come back alive." Noah pressed the gas pedal. Would you risk everything to save strangers in a storm? Or wait for help that might never come? The bus sat tilted in a snowdrift, its emergency lights casting weak red pulses across the white. Noah killed his engine and grabbed the thermal blankets from the back seat. The wind hit him like a fist when he opened the door, cold enough to make his lungs seize. He wrapped his scarf around his face and pushed forward. The bus door hung open. Inside, 10 men huddled in pairs, their breath forming clouds in the frozen air. Most wore construction jackets and work boots, their faces pale and drawn. One man lay across 2 seats, unconscious, his lips blue. Another sat by the door, phone clutched in shaking hands. "Deshaun." The young man looked up. His eyes were red. "You came. Everyone who can walk, get up. We're moving." A man near the back stood, his voice sharp. "State Patrol said to wait." "State Patrol isn't here." Noah tossed him a thermal blanket. "Wrap up. We're going 3 at a time. Injured first." He moved to the unconscious man, Marcus, according to the others, and checked his pulse. Faint but steady. Hypothermia, probably severe. Noah wrapped him in 2 blankets and gestured to Deshaun. "Help me get him to the SUV." They carried Marcus through the storm, his weight dragging between them. Snow filled Noah's boots. His fingers burned, then went numb. They loaded Marcus into the back seat and cranked the heat as high as it would go. "Stay with him," Noah told Deshaun. "Keep him warm. I'll be back." He made the second trip with 2 men who could barely stand, their legs stiff and uncoordinated. One of them kept apologizing, his words slurred. The other didn't speak at all. Noah got them into the SUV, handed Deshaun a thermos of lukewarm coffee from under his seat, and went back. The third trip brought 2 more men. The fourth brought another 2. On the 5th trip, only 3 men remained in the bus. One of them stood at the front, watching Noah with an intensity that made his skin crawl. He was taller than the others, broader through the shoulders, his face shadowed by the hood of his jacket. He didn't shiver, didn't shift his weight, just watched. "Your turn," Noah said. The man didn't move. "You shouldn't be here." Noah blinked. His brain felt sluggish from the cold, his thoughts moving like syrup. "We need to go. Now." "I know." The man's voice was low, quiet, the kind of voice that didn't need to be raised to be heard. "But you still shouldn't be here." One of the other men coughed, a wet, rattling sound. Noah ignored the tall man and moved to help the coughing man stand. His muscles protested. His back screamed. He'd been hauling weight for over an hour and his body was starting to shut down. The tall man stepped forward. "Let me." Before Noah could respond, the man lifted the coughing man with an ease that seemed impossible. He carried him out of the bus like he weighed nothing, his movements smooth and controlled despite the wind. Noah followed with the last man, his legs shaking. At the SUV, The tall man loaded the coughing man into the back and stepped aside. The space was packed now. 7 men crammed into a vehicle meant for 5. Marcus still hadn't woken up. Deshawn looked scared. "I'll take them to the depot," Noah said. "Come back for you 3. The tall man shook his head. "I'm riding with you. There's no room." "I'll make room." Something in his tone made Noah's pulse jump. Not threatening, not aggressive, just absolute. The kind of certainty that didn't allow for argument. Noah wanted to argue anyway. His instincts screamed at him to maintain control, to not let anyone dictate terms. But his body was failing and his brain was fuzzy and he didn't have the energy to fight. "Fine, get in." The tall man climbed into the passenger seat. The other 2 men squeezed into the remaining space. Noah started the engine and turned the SUV around, fighting the snow and the wind and the growing exhaustion that made his hands slip on the wheel. The depot was 12 miles away. He drove in silence, focused on keeping the vehicle on the road. His vision blurred at the edges. His fingers ached. The heater blasted dry, stale air that didn't seem to warm anything. Halfway back, the tall man spoke. "What's your name?" Noah didn't take his eyes off the road. "Noah." "Noah what?" "Ardent." The man was silent for a moment. Then, "You saved us, Noah Ardent." "I just drove." "No." The man's voice dropped lower, quieter. "You broke the rules. You risked your life. You came when no one else would." Noah's jaw tightened. He didn't want praise, didn't want attention. He wanted to get these men somewhere warm and then go home and sleep for 3 days and pretend none of this happened. But his body was starting to betray him. His hands shook on the wheel. His vision tunneled. The road seemed to tilt and warp, the white lines blurring into abstract shapes. He blinked hard, trying to clear his head. The tall man leaned forward. "Noah, I'm fine." "You're not." Noah's breath came faster. His chest felt tight. The SUV drifted right, tires catching on the shoulder. He jerked it back, overcorrected, and felt the vehicle slide. Then the tall man's hand was on his, steady and warm. "Let me." Noah didn't have the strength to refuse. The man's hands covered his, guiding the wheel with a precision that spoke of experience. His grip was firm but not controlling, his movements minimal and exact. Slowly, the SUV straightened. "Breathe," the man said softly. Noah breathed. The depot appeared through the white like a mirage. Noah pulled into the lot and killed the engine. His body sagged against the seat. The men piled out, thanking him, their voices overlapping. Deshawn hugged him hard enough to crack ribs. Someone pressed a business card into his hand. The tall man was the last to leave. He stood by the passenger door, his gray eyes locked on Noah's face. Up close, Noah could see details he'd missed before. The sharp line of his jaw, the faint scar above his left eyebrow. The way he held himself like violence was always an option but never a first choice. "You smell like someone I shouldn't touch," the man said quietly. Noah froze. His heart kicked hard against his ribs. Omega biology flooded his brain with signals he didn't want. Awareness, attraction, the instinctive pull toward alpha dominance. He shoved it down, buried it deep. "I don't know what you mean." The man's mouth curved, not quite a smile. "Yes, you do." He turned and walked toward the warehouse where the other men waited for state patrol. Noah watched him go, his pulse thundering in his ears. Then exhaustion hit like a hammer. He slumped forward, his forehead hitting the steering wheel. His phone buzzed. His supervisor. 3 missed calls. A text. "You're suspended pending review. Do not report to work." Noah laughed. A broken, bitter sound. He'd saved 10 men. And it was going to cost him everything. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. What would you sacrifice to do the right thing? And would you still do it if you knew the cost? Noah woke to banging on his windshield. A state patrol officer stood outside, flashlight in hand. Behind him, emergency vehicles filled the lot. Ambulances, patrol cars, a fire truck with chains on its tires. The storm had weakened to flurries, but the sky was still dark, still angry. Noah rolled down the window. Cold air rushed in. You Noah Ardent? Yes. Step out of the vehicle, please. Noah's body screamed in protest as he opened the door. His legs barely held him. The officer looked him over, frowning. You drove into a closed highway during a blizzard to rescue 10 civilians. Yes. You violated emergency closure orders. Yes. The officer's frown deepened. You also saved 10 lives. EMTs say another hour and at least 3 of them would have died from exposure. Noah said nothing. His brain was too tired to process what was happening. He just wanted to sleep. We're not charging you, the officer said, but your supervisor wants you off-site. Ambulance will take you to county medical for evaluation. I'm fine. You're hypothermic. Get in the ambulance. 2 EMTs appeared, one on each side, guiding him toward the waiting vehicle. Noah didn't fight. He let them load him onto a gurney, let them wrap him in heated blankets, let them check his vitals while the world blurred around him. The last thing he saw before they closed the doors was the tall man standing by the warehouse entrance, watching him with those gray eyes. Then the morphine kicked in and Noah was gone. He woke in a hospital bed, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. His body felt heavy and disconnected, his thoughts moving through sludge. A nurse checked his fore and smiled when she saw his eyes open. Welcome back. You've been out for 6 hours. Noah tried to speak. His throat was dry, raw. The nurse handed him water. Your sister's on her way. She should be here in an hour. Panic spiked through the fog. You called Amara? She's your emergency contact. Noah closed his eyes. Amara was supposed to be studying for midterms. She was supposed to be focused on school, not driving 300 miles through a snowstorm because her older brother was an idiot. How long do I have to stay? Doctor wants to monitor you for another 12 hours. You had mild hypothermia and severe exhaustion. You need rest. Rest. The word felt foreign. Noah couldn't remember the last time he'd rested. His body was a machine that ran on caffeine and obligation, stopping only when it broke down completely. Like now. The nurse left. Noah stared at the ceiling and tried to organize his thoughts. Suspended from work. Medical bills incoming. Amara worried sick. And somewhere out there, 10 men who knew his name and his face and what he'd done. He wanted to disappear. 3 hours later, Amara burst through the door. She was small and fierce, her braids pulled back in a ponytail, her college sweatshirt rumpled. She took one look at Noah and her face crumpled. You could have died. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're in a hospital bed because you drove into a blizzard like a... She stopped, swallowed hard. Why didn't you call me? You have midterms. I don't care about midterms. You're my brother. Noah looked away. He couldn't handle her anger. Not now. Couldn't handle the guilt that came with being loved by someone he kept disappointing. Amara sat on the edge of the bed, her voice softer. The nurse said you saved 10 people. I just drove. Don't do that. Don't minimize it. She grabbed his hand. You did something brave and stupid, and I'm mad at you, but I'm also proud, and I don't know how to feel both things at once. Noah's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just... She squeezed his hand. Just promise me you'll stop trying to save everyone else and let someone save you for once. He couldn't promise that, so he said nothing. Amara stayed for 2 hours, talking about school and her roommate's terrible taste in music and the snow that had delayed her drive. She didn't mention their eviction notice or the tuition bill or the fact that Noah's suspension meant no paycheck for at least 2 weeks. She just sat with him. When she finally left, the room felt colder. Noah dozed, half awake and restless. Voices drifted from the hallway, doctors, nurses, other patients. Then one voice, low and familiar, that made his eyes snap open. I need to see Noah Ardent. Are you family? No. Then I'm sorry. Visiting hours are over and we can only allow. I understand. Please tell him Cade Moraine stopped by. Silence. I'll let him know. Footsteps faded. Noah stared at the door, his heart pounding. Cade, the tall man, The one who'd steadied his hands and said things that made Noah's Omega instincts flare. Why was he here? Noah's phone buzzed on the side table. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Noah Ardent? Yes. This is Cade Moraine. We met earlier. I know. I need to speak with you. It's important. About what? Silence stretched. Then, about what happens next. Noah's pulse kicked. What does that mean? It means you made a choice tonight that changed things. And there are people who won't like it. What people? The kind who prefer rules over lives. Cade's voice dropped. I can't explain over the phone. But I need you to trust me. I don't know you. You saved my life. That's a start. Noah's breath caught. Cade had been one of the 10. The tall man who'd watched him with those gray eyes, who'd steadied the wheel, who'd said things that made Noah's skin burn. Why do you care? Noah asked. Because you're in danger, and I don't leave debts unpaid. The line went dead. Noah sat in the dark, his mind racing. Danger. What danger? He'd saved 10 men from freezing. That was it. That was all he'd done. But Cade's voice had been certain, and certainty in Noah's experience usually meant trouble. When doing the right thing puts a target on your back, who can you trust? And what price will they demand for their protection? Noah was released the next morning with a stack of discharge papers and a bill he couldn't afford. Amara drove him home in her beat-up Honda, the radio playing soft R&B that filled the silence between them. She didn't ask about Cade, didn't ask about the danger. She just drove, her hands tight on the wheel. Their apartment was cold when they arrived. The heat had been shut off 3 days ago, another bill Noah couldn't pay. Amara plugged in a space heater and made tea while Noah collapsed on the couch. His body ached in places he didn't know could ache. You should eat, Amara said, handing him a mug. Not hungry. You never are. She sat beside him, her expression serious. Noah, we need to talk about money. Not now. When? When we're living in the car. Noah closed his eyes. The eviction notice gave them 2 weeks. The tuition bill was due in 10 days. His suspension meant no income. The math didn't work. It never worked. I'll figure it out, he said. How? I always do. Amara's face twisted. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep sacrificing everything for me. You're my sister. I'm an adult. I can take care of myself. No. Noah's voice went hard. You stay in school. You finish your degree. That's not negotiable. And what about you? What about your life? This is my life. Amara stood, her hands shaking. This isn't life. This is survival. And I'm tired of watching you slowly destroy yourself so I can have a future. She walked to her room and closed the door. Noah sat in the silence, staring at his tea. Steam rose from the surface, twisting in the cold air. He thought about Cade's words. You're in danger. He thought about the tall man's gray eyes and the way his presence had felt like gravity. Something inevitable and impossible to resist. He thought about the business card pressed into his hand. He pulled it from his pocket. Plain white cardstock, no logo. Just a name and a number. Cade Moraine. 406-555-9847. Noah stared at it for a long time. Then he put it away. The next week passed in slow motion. Noah stayed home, icing his body and sleeping in fragments. Amara left for campus after 3 days, her hug fierce and desperate. The apartment felt emptier without her. He tried to find work, sent applications to every logistics company, warehouse, and dispatch center within 50 miles. No responses. Word traveled fast in small communities, and the guy who violated emergency protocols wasn't a popular hire. The eviction notice sat on his kitchen table, red stamp glaring. On the 8th day, Noah walked to the shelter where he volunteered. It was a converted church on the edge of town, its paint peeling and its roof patched with mismatched shingles. Inside, 30 people huddled around space heaters, eating donated soup and stale bread. The director, Miss Calloway, saw him and smiled. She was 60-something with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. Heard about your adventure, she said. Yeah, you're a damn fool. I know. You're also a hero. She squeezed his shoulder. Thank you. Noah helped serve dinner, his body moving on autopilot. The work was familiar, grounding. Here, he didn't have to think about bills or evictions or suspension. He just had to ladle soup and pass out bread and listen to people who had even less than he did. At closing time, he helped Ms. Calloway lock up. The snow had started again. Light flurries that danced in the streetlights. You doing okay? She asked. Fine. Liar. She handed him a plastic container. Leftovers. Take them home. I can't. Noah ardent, you feed everyone but yourself. Take the damn soup. He took it. Outside, the parking lot was empty except for his SUV and a black vehicle parked near the street. Sleek. Expensive. Not the kind of car anyone in Pine Ridge drove. Noah's pulse kicked. The driver's door opened. Cade stepped out. He wore dark jeans and a wool coat, his gray eyes sharp in the streetlight. He moved with the same controlled grace Noah remembered. Efficient, deliberate, like a predator who didn't need to rush. Hello, Noah. Noah's hands tightened on the soup container. What are you doing here? I told you we needed to talk. And I told you I don't know you. Cade smiled, small and tight. You saved my life. That means you know me better than most. That doesn't make sense. It does when you understand what I am. Noah took a step back. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs wouldn't move. Cade radiated something Noah's Omega biology recognized on a primal level: power, dominance, the kind of presence that made submission feel inevitable. He hated it. What do you want? Noah asked. To help. I don't need help. Cade's expression softened. You're being evicted. You're suspended from work. Your sister's tuition is overdue. You're living on donated soup and space heaters. He took a step closer. Yes, Noah. You need help. Noah's jaw clenched. How do you know that? Because I make it my business to know. That's not an answer. No, it's a warning. Cade stopped 3 feet away, his voice dropping. You saved 10 men that night. 9 of them went home and forgot about you. But I didn't, because I don't forget debts. And I don't let people who matter suffer. I don't matter to you. You do now. Silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. Noah's heart pounded. His Omega instincts screamed at him to move closer, to accept the protection being offered, to submit to the Alpha who clearly wanted to claim him. He took another step back. I don't want your help, Noah said. Cade's eyes flashed. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. And I'm choosing to walk away. He turned toward his SUV. Made it 3 steps before Cade spoke again. Someone threw a bottle at you last week. Outside the diner on Main Street. You didn't report it. Noah froze. They called you a rule breaker. Said you put lives at risk. Said you should have been arrested. Cade's voice went cold. That was just the start, Noah. There are people in this town who think you're a problem. And they're not going to stop with words. Noah's chest tightened. He'd ignored the bottle. Ignored the whispers. Ignored the looks he got at the grocery store. He'd learned a long time ago that being an Omega male meant enduring things quietly. But hearing Cade say it out loud made it real. Why do you care? Noah asked without turning around. Because you don't belong here anymore. Noah looked back. Cade stood in the snow, his gray eyes burning with something Noah couldn't name. Then where do I belong? Cade smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. With me. Before Noah could respond, glass shattered. The shelter window exploded inward, shards spraying across the snow. A bottle rolled to a stop at Noah's feet, liquid sloshing inside. Cade moved. One moment he was 10 feet away. The next, he had Noah behind him, his body a wall between Noah and whoever had thrown the bottle. His hand shot out, catching a second bottle mid-flight. Glass cracked against his palm but didn't break. 3 men stepped out from behind a truck parked across the street. Young, drunk, angry. That's him, one shouted. The Omega who thinks he's a hero. Cade's voice cut through the night like a blade. Leave. Now. The men laughed. One of them pulled out his phone, recording. Or what? You gonna call the cops? Go ahead. We're just expressing our opinion. Cade set the bottle down carefully. Last chance. They didn't take it. The first man charged. Cade sidestepped, caught his wrist, and twisted. The man went down hard, screaming. The second man swung a fist. Cade blocked it with his forearm and drove his knee into the man's stomach. The third man ran. It was over in seconds. Cade stood over the two groaning men, his expression blank. Then he turned to Noah, his eyes scanning for injuries. Are you hurt? Noah shook his head. His mouth was dry. His hands were shaking. He'd seen fights before, bar brawls, domestic disputes, drunken shouting matches. But he'd never seen someone move like Cade. Efficient, controlled, lethal. Who are you? Noah whispered. Cade's phone buzzed. He answered without looking away from Noah. Yeah. Pine Ridge Shelter. 3 assailants. Send cleanup. He hung up. We need to go, Cade said. I'm not going anywhere with you. Noah. No. I don't know you. I don't know what you are. And I'm not. Sirens cut him off. Police cars screamed into the lot, lights flashing. Officers poured out, guns drawn. Cade raised his hands slowly, his body language shifting to something non-threatening. Cade Moraine, I'm licensed to carry. Wallet is in my left pocket. The lead officer, a woman with sharp eyes and graying hair, holstered her weapon. Mr. Moraine, we got your call. These the assailants? Yes. She gestured to her team. They cuffed the 2 men and read them their rights. The woman turned to Noah. You Noah Ardent? Yes. You need medical attention? No. Good. We'll need a statement. She glanced at Cade. Both of you. An hour later, Noah sat in a police station conference room, a cup of bad coffee cooling in his hands. Cade sat across from him, his expression unreadable. The officers had separated them for initial questioning, then brought them back together. The female officer, Lieutenant Morrison, reviewed her notes. So to summarize, 3 men attacked you outside the shelter. Mr. Moraine intervened. No weapons were used beyond the thrown bottles. The assailants have been charged with assault and vandalism. She looked at Noah. This is the second incident you've been involved in this month. I didn't ask for any of this, Noah said. I know, but it's happening anyway. Morrison closed her folder. I'd recommend increased patrol in your area, but we're understaffed. Best I can do is file the report and hope they leave you alone. That's not good enough, Cade said quietly. Morrison's eyes hardened. It's what we have. If you've got resources to do better, Mr. Moraine, be my guest. I do. Noah looked at him sharply. What does that mean? Cade stood. It means I'm not letting this happen again. He walked out. Noah followed him into the parking lot, anger and confusion warring in his chest. You can't just decide to protect me. I don't want. Cade spun, his face inches from Noah's. You don't get to decide. You saved my life. That means I owe you, and I always pay my debts. By stalking me? By keeping you alive. I don't need a bodyguard. Yes, you do. Cade's voice dropped, his gray eyes burning. Because you have no idea what you started when you drove into that storm. Noah's breath caught. What are you talking about? Cade stepped back, his expression closing. Go home, Noah. Lock your doors. Don't answer calls from numbers you don't recognize. Why? Because the men you saved weren't just construction workers. Cade turned toward his car. And the people who sent them are very, very interested in the Omega who pulled off an impossible rescue. He got in and drove away, leaving Noah standing in the cold, his mind racing. What secret are you hiding? And what happens when the wrong person discovers it? Noah didn't sleep that night. He lay on his couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying Cade's words. The men you saved weren't just construction workers. What did that mean? Who were they? And why did it matter? His phone buzzed at 3 a.m. Unknown number. He let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it buzzed again. Same number. He answered. What? It's me. Cade's voice, rough with exhaustion. "Are you safe?" "I'm home." "That's not what I asked." Noah sat up, adrenaline spiking. "Why wouldn't I be safe?" "Because someone just tried to access your personnel file at the logistics depot. They were blocked, but they'll try again." "How do you know that?" "I have resources." "That's not an answer." Cade was silent for a moment. "I'll explain tomorrow. Right now, I need you to pack a bag." "What?" "No, I'm not." "Noah." Cade's voice went hard. "You have two choices. You can stay in your apartment and hope whoever's looking for you doesn't find you. Or you can let me keep you safe until I figure out who they are and what they want." "This is insane. This is reality. Make a choice." Noah's hands shook. His brain screamed at him to hang up, to barricade himself inside, to call the police. But something in Cade's tone, the absolute certainty, the cold efficiency, made him pause. "Why do you care so much?" Noah asked. "Because you matter. You don't know me. I know enough." Cade's voice softened. "Please, Noah. Trust me." Noah closed his eyes. Every instinct told him this was wrong. That accepting help from a stranger was dangerous. That trusting an alpha who moved like violence and spoke like authority was a mistake. But he was tired. So tired. "One night," Noah said. "I'll give you one night to explain. Then I make my own decision." "Fair enough. I'll be there in 10 minutes. How do you know where I live?" Cade hung up. Noah packed a bag with shaking hands. Clothes, toiletries, his phone charger. The business card he still hadn't thrown away. He left a note for Amara on the kitchen table. "Gone for a few days. Don't worry. I'm safe. Love you." He wasn't sure if it was a lie. Cade arrived in the black SUV, engine running. Noah climbed in without speaking. The interior smelled like leather and something else. Something rich and warm that made his Omega instincts purr. He hated it. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, leaving Pine Ridge behind. The road wound through forest, snow-covered and empty. Finally, Cade turned onto a private drive marked only by a metal gate that opened as they approached. The house appeared through the trees, a modern structure of glass and timber, lights glowing warm against the night. It was massive, beautiful, the kind of place Noah had only seen in magazines. "This is yours?" Noah asked. "One of them. How many do you have?" "Enough." Cade parked and led Noah inside. The interior was minimalist, clean lines, expensive furniture, a fireplace that crackled with real wood. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the forest, snow falling silent and soft beyond the glass. "Guest room is upstairs," Cade said. "Second door on the left. You'll find everything you need." Noah didn't move. "Who are you?" Cade poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "That's a complicated question. Try me." Cade drank, his gray eyes studying Noah over the rim of his glass. "I'm a shipping executive. My family owns one of the largest freight companies in the northern United States. We move cargo, legal cargo, across borders and oceans. It's boring, lucrative work. That doesn't explain why you were on a construction bus in the middle of nowhere." "No, it doesn't." Cade set his glass down. "The truth is that bus was transporting security personnel. We were moving assets, sensitive documents, encrypted data from one facility to another. The storm hit faster than anticipated. The bus broke down, and you saved us before anyone realized we were vulnerable." Noah's chest tightened. "What kind of assets?" "The kind people would kill for. And now they think I know something. Now they think you're a variable." Cade's voice went cold. "A small-town Omega who appeared out of nowhere, violated protocols, and saved 10 men who shouldn't have needed saving. That makes you interesting. And in my world, interesting people die." Noah sat down hard on the couch. His mind raced. This wasn't just about a rescue. This was about corporate espionage, about secrets, about power he didn't understand. "I don't know anything," Noah said. "I just drove into a storm." "I know, but they don't." Cade moved to sit beside him, his presence overwhelming. "Which is why you need to disappear for a while. Let me handle this. I can't just disappear. I have a sister. I have. Your sister is safe. I've already arranged security at her campus. Noah's head snapped up. You what? She's being watched. Discreetly. No one will touch her. You had no right. I had every right. Cade leaned closer, his voice dropping. You saved my life, Noah. That means your life, your sister's life, everyone you care about. They're my responsibility now, whether you like it or not. Noah wanted to argue, wanted to rage. But exhaustion crashed over him like a wave and he couldn't find the energy. Cade's expression softened. Go upstairs. Sleep. We'll talk more in the morning. Noah stood on shaking legs. He made it to the stairs before Cade spoke again. Noah. He turned. Cade stood by the fireplace, backlit by flames, his gray eyes burning. Thank you for saving us, for being brave when no one else would be. Noah's throat tightened. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of watching people die. He went upstairs. The guest room was massive, king bed, private bathroom, windows overlooking the forest. Noah collapsed onto the bed without changing, his body finally giving up. Sleep claimed him fast and hard. He woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee. His phone showed 10 missed calls from Amara. He texted her. I'm okay. Staying with a friend. Call you tonight. Downstairs, Cade stood in the kitchen cooking eggs. He'd changed into a black Henley and jeans, his hair damp from a shower. He looked younger in the daylight, less dangerous, though Noah knew that was an illusion. Morning, Cade said. Hungry. Starving. They ate in silence. The eggs were perfect. Noah tried not to think about how domestic this felt. Sitting at a table with an alpha who'd invaded his life, eating breakfast like they were normal people. I made some calls, Cade said. The people looking for you are from a rival company. They think you were planted. A corporate spy pretending to be a rescuer. That's insane. Welcome to my world. Cade refilled Noah's coffee. I've convinced them you're not a threat. It took some negotiation, but they've agreed to back off. Just like that. Just like that. Noah set his fork down. What did you have to give them? Cade smiled. Nothing you need to worry about. That's not an answer. No, it's a kindness. Cade stood, clearing plates. You're safe now. You can go home. Live your life. Forget this ever happened. Noah should have been relieved. He wasn't. What if I don't want to forget? He asked quietly. Cade froze, his back to Noah. What? What if I don't want to pretend none of this happened? What if I want to understand? Cade turned slowly. His gray eyes were unreadable. Understanding comes with a price, Noah. Everything does. They stared at each other across the kitchen. Noah's heart pounded. His Omega instincts screamed at him to submit, to accept whatever Cade offered, to stop fighting the inevitable pull between them. But he wasn't ready. Not yet. Cade crossed the kitchen in 3 strides. He stopped inches away, his hand reaching out to adjust Noah's jacket collar. A gesture so casual and intimate it made Noah's breath catch. You don't belong in Pine Ridge anymore, Cade said softly. You deserve better. Let me give it to you. I don't need saving. Everyone needs saving. Cade's fingers lingered on Noah's collar. The question is whether you're brave enough to accept it. Noah's pulse thundered. What are you offering? Everything. Before Noah could respond, glass shattered. A bottle smashed through the kitchen window, spinning end over end before crashing into the counter. Liquid splashed. Gasoline, Noah's brain registered, and then fire bloomed, bright and vicious. Cade grabbed Noah and pulled him toward the door. They made it 3 steps before the front door exploded inward. When safety shatters and enemies find you, who's the real threat? The people hunting you, or the man swearing to protect you? 3 men poured through the shattered door, their faces covered with black masks. Cade shoved Noah behind the kitchen island and grabbed a knife from the counter. The lead intruder raised a gun. Cade moved first. He threw the knife. It buried itself in the gunman's shoulder. The man screamed and dropped his weapon. Cade was already moving, sliding across the floor, grabbing the fallen gun and firing twice. Both shots hit, one in the leg, one in the chest. Non-lethal placements. Surgical precision. The second man charged. Cade met him halfway, redirecting his momentum and slamming him face-first into the granite countertop. Blood sprayed. Teeth scattered across the tile. The third man grabbed Noah. Noah's training kicked in. The self-defense classes he'd taken years ago when being an Omega male meant constant vulnerability. He dropped his weight, twisted, drove his elbow into the man's ribs. The grip loosened. Noah spun and kicked hard between the man's legs. The man went down. Cade appeared beside Noah, checking him for injuries with quick, efficient movements. "You hurt?" "No." "Good. We're leaving." "The fire." "Already contained." Cade pointed to the ceiling where sprinklers had activated, dousing the flames. "This place has systems. We don't." He grabbed Noah's hand and pulled him toward the garage. Behind them, sirens wailed in the distance. Cade's jaw was tight, his movements faster than before. They reached a different vehicle, a dark sedan, nondescript and armored. "Get in." Noah didn't argue. Cade drove fast, taking back roads Noah didn't recognize. His phone buzzed constantly. He ignored it, his focus absolute. "Who were they?" Noah asked. "Professionals." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have right now." Cade's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "They weren't supposed to find us. Someone leaked our location." "Someone you know?" "Someone I trusted." The weight in those words made Noah's chest tighten. They drove for another hour, finally stopping at a small motel outside Missoula. Cade paid cash, used a fake name, and led Noah to a room on the second floor. Inside, Noah sat on the bed while Cade made calls. His voice was cold, clipped, speaking in terms Noah didn't understand. Corporate language, threat assessments, security protocols. When he finally hung up, his expression was dark. "We have a problem," Cade said. "Just one. The attack wasn't about you. It was about me." Cade sat in the chair across from Noah, his gray eyes burning. "Someone inside my organization wants me dead. They're using you as leverage." Noah's blood ran cold. "Why?" "Because they saw how I reacted when you were threatened. They know you matter to me." "I don't." "Yes, you do." Cade leaned forward. "I've spent 15 years building walls, Noah, keeping people at a distance, trusting no one. And then you drove into a storm and saved my life, and I made a mistake." "What mistake?" "I let you matter." Silence stretched between them. Noah's heart pounded. His Omega instincts screamed at him to move closer, to accept the bond forming between them, to submit to the alpha who'd claimed him without asking. But his brain remembered the lawsuit papers sitting on his kitchen table. "I need to go home," Noah said. "My sister needs me. I have bills." "I have." "You have nothing." Cade's voice was harsh. "Your apartment is gone. You were evicted yesterday while you were here. Your belongings are in storage." Noah stood, rage flooding through him. "You knew and you didn't tell me? I was trying to protect you. By lying. By keeping you alive." Cade stood too, his presence overwhelming. "You want the truth, Noah? Fine. You're being sued by Morrison Freight Corporation. They're accusing you of corporate espionage, interference with emergency protocols, and endangerment. The lawsuit is designed to destroy you. Financially, legally, socially." Noah's legs went weak. He sat back down hard. "Why?" "Because you exposed a gap in rural emergency response. You proved that private citizens can do what government agencies can't. And that threatens contracts worth millions." Cade crouched in front of him, eye level. "They're making an example of you. I just saved people. I know. I didn't do anything wrong. I know." Cade's hand covered Noah's, warm and steady. "Which is why I'm going to fix this. You can't fix a lawsuit." "Yes, I can." Cade's smile was cold. "I've already started." Noah pulled his hand away. "What does that mean?" "It means Morrison Freight is about to have a very bad week." "Cade." "No." Cade stood, his voice going hard. They came after you. They destroyed your life because you were kind, because you saved lives when no one else would. And I don't forgive that." He walked to the window, staring out at the parking lot. His shoulders were rigid, his hands clenched. Noah watched him and realized something that made his chest ache. Cade was dangerous, not just physically, not just because he could fight and shoot and move like violence, but because he had power. Real power, the kind that moved corporations and destroyed enemies and reshaped reality. And he'd aimed all of that power at protecting Noah. "I didn't ask for this," Noah said quietly. "I know. I don't want to be someone's responsibility." Too late. Cade turned, his gray eyes burning. "You saved my life. That makes you mine. And I protect what's mine." Before Noah could respond, Cade's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression went cold. "When?" Pause. "How many?" Another pause. "Evacuate them. Now." He hung up and looked at Noah. "Your shelter. Someone just filed an anonymous report claiming fire code violations. The city's shutting it down." Noah's heart stopped. "They can't. Those people have nowhere else to go. They're not trying to help those people. They're trying to hurt you." Noah stood, rage replacing fear. "I need to go there. I need to. No. Those are my people, and they're using them as bait." Cade grabbed Noah's shoulders, his grip firm. "If you go there, you'll be arrested. They've already filed a warrant." "For what?" "Operating an unlicensed shelter. Negligence. Whatever they can make stick." Cade's jaw clenched. "They're destroying everything you care about until you break." Noah's vision blurred. His hands shook. Everything he'd built, the shelter, the volunteer work, the community that depended on him, was being torn apart because he'd done the right thing. "I can't let this happen," Noah whispered. "You won't." Cade released him, his voice dropping. "Because I'm going to end this. Tonight." "How?" "By doing what I should have done from the beginning." Cade pulled out his phone and made a call. "It's me. I need a full audit on Morrison Freight financials, contracts, personnel files. Everything. And I need it in 3 hours." He hung up and looked at Noah. "Get some rest. This ends tomorrow." "I can't rest." "Try." Noah lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind raced. His chest ached. Everything he'd worked for was gone. His apartment, his job, his shelter. All of it destroyed because he'd saved 10 lives. And the man responsible for protecting him was an alpha who spoke like power and moved like death. Hours passed. Noah didn't sleep. Cade sat in the chair by the window, working on his laptop, his expression cold and focused. Outside, night deepened. Snow fell silent and heavy. At midnight, Cade's phone buzzed. He read the message and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Got them," he said. "Got who?" "Morrison Freight. They've been embezzling money from federal emergency contracts for 5 years. Falsifying response times. Cutting corners on equipment." Cade's eyes gleamed. "They're finished." "How did you?" "I have resources." Cade stood, stretching. "By morning, every news outlet in the state will have this information. By afternoon, federal investigators will be on their doorstep. By evening, their contracts will be canceled." Noah sat up. "You're destroying an entire company." "Yes, that's hundreds of jobs. It's justice." Cade's voice was flat. "They tried to destroy you for saving lives. They shut down a shelter to make a point. They deserve what's coming." Noah wanted to argue, wanted to say it was too much, too far. But he thought about the people in the shelter, cold and scared and homeless. He thought about the lawsuit papers. He thought about the men who'd attacked them. "What happens to me?" Noah asked. "The lawsuit disappears. The charges disappear. You get your life back. Just like that. Just like that." Cade moved to sit on the edge of the bed, his presence overwhelming. "But there's a cost." Noah's throat tightened. "What cost?" "You'll be associated with me. People will know I protected you. That makes you a target for anyone who wants to hurt me. So I trade one problem for another." "Yes." Cade's hand reached out. cupping Noah's jaw gently. But this time, you won't be alone. Noah's breath caught. Cade's touch was warm, careful, like Noah was something precious. His gray eyes held something Noah didn't want to name. Possession, protection, something deeper and more dangerous. I should say no, Noah whispered. But you won't. Cade's thumb brushed Noah's cheekbone. Because you're tired of fighting alone. And I'm offering you a way out. At what price? Your freedom. The words hung between them, honest and brutal. Noah's Omega instincts screamed at him to submit, to accept, to stop fighting the bond forming between them. But his heart remembered what freedom felt like. He pulled away. I need to think. Cade's hand dropped. His expression closed. Of course. He stood and walked to the door. I'll be outside if you need me. The door clicked shut. Noah sat in the silence, his chest aching. Outside, he heard Cade's voice speaking low into his phone, making calls, moving pieces, reshaping reality. And Noah realized he'd already made his choice. He just wasn't ready to admit it yet. Papers slid under the door. Noah picked them up. Legal documents. His lawsuit dismissed. His eviction reversed. His criminal charges dropped. All of it gone. At the bottom, a handwritten note. You're free. The choice is yours. K. Noah stared at the note until his vision blurred. Then someone knocked. He opened the door. A man in a suit stood there, his face professional and cold. Noah Ardent? Yes. You've been served. He handed Noah an envelope and walked away. Inside, a single page, federal grand jury subpoena. You are required to testify regarding emergency response protocols and corporate fraud in the case of United States versus Morrison Freight Corporation. Noah's hands shook. The door opened. Cade stepped inside, saw the paper, and his expression went dark. They're making you testify, Cade said. Yes. They'll tear you apart on the stand. I know. Cade moved closer. I can make this go away. No. Noah's voice was firm. I'm testifying. Those people need to be held accountable. It'll destroy you. Maybe. Noah met Cade's eyes. But it's the right thing to do. Cade stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Then I'll be there with you. You don't have to. I'm not leaving you alone. Cade's hand found Noah's. Not now. Not ever. Noah wanted to argue, wanted to push him away, but exhaustion won. He let Cade pull him close. They stood there in the cheap motel room, two people who shouldn't fit but somehow did, while outside the world prepared to tear them apart. The subpoena sat on the table, and Noah knew his life would never be the same. When the truth demands sacrifice and the powerful demand silence, would you speak up? Even if it costs you everything? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Your words might inspire someone who needs to hear them today. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters. Noah stood at the bottom, his hands shaking, his stomach twisted in knots. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward, questions shouted from every direction. Mr. Ardent, is it true you violated emergency protocols? Did Morrison Freight offer you money to stay silent? Are you working with federal investigators? Cade appeared beside him, his hand firm on Noah's lower back. Two security guards flanked them, clearing a path. Noah kept his eyes forward, his jaw clenched, his body moving on autopilot. They made it inside. The courtroom was cold and formal, all wood paneling and fluorescent lights. Noah sat at the witness table, his lawyer beside him, a woman named Jasmine Chun who Cade had hired. She was sharp and efficient, her expression giving nothing away. Just tell the truth, she whispered. Don't elaborate. Don't defend yourself. Just answer the questions. Noah nodded. The prosecutor stood. A man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked at Noah with something like sympathy. Mr. Ardent, can you describe the events of December 8th? Noah took a breath. I was working dispatch at Pine Ridge Logistics. An emergency call came in. 10 men stranded on Highway 287 during a blizzard. And what did you do? I called for state rescue. They said wait time was 4 to 6 hours. But you didn't wait. No. Why not? Noah's throat tightened. Because I knew they wouldn't survive that long. The prosecutor nodded. What happened next? I drove to their location, found them in a broken-down bus, brought them back in multiple trips. Did you know who these men were? No. They said they were construction workers. But they weren't. No. Noah glanced at Cade, sitting in the gallery. His gray eyes were locked on Noah's face. I found out later they were corporate security. For what company? Moraine Shipping. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The prosecutor held up a document. Mr. Ardent, are you aware that Morrison Freight Corporation held the emergency response contract for that region? I am now. And are you aware that by performing a civilian rescue, you exposed systemic failures in Morrison Freight's response protocols? I didn't expose anything. I just saved people. But your actions had consequences. The prosecutor's voice was gentle. Morrison Freight lost their contract. Federal investigators found evidence of fraud. The company collapsed. Noah's chest ached. I didn't know that would happen. But it did happen. Because you broke protocol. Jasmine Chin stood. Objection. My client is not on trial here. Sustained. The judge, an older black woman with steel in her eyes, looked at the prosecutor. Move on, counselor. The prosecutor nodded. Mr. Ardent, did anyone from Morrison Freight contact you after the rescue? Yes, they sued me. For what? Interference, endangerment, corporate espionage. How did that make you feel? Noah's hands clenched. Angry, scared, like I was being punished for doing the right thing. Did anyone help you? Noah hesitated. His eyes found Cade again. Yes. Who? Cade Moraine. More murmurs. The prosecutor smiled slightly. The CEO of Moraine Shipping. One of the men you saved. Yes. How did he help? He made the lawsuit disappear. How? I don't know. The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. You don't know? He has resources. He used them. Mr. Ardent, did Cade Moraine offer you anything in exchange for your testimony today? No. Did he threaten you? No. Did he ask you to lie? No. Noah's voice went hard. He asked me to tell the truth. That's what I'm doing. The prosecutor studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. No further questions. The defense attorney stood. A woman in an expensive suit with cold eyes. Mr. Ardent, you claim you were just helping people. But isn't it true you were fired from your position for violating protocols? I was suspended. Suspended. Fired. Semantics. She paced in front of him. The point is, you broke the rules. To save lives. To play hero. Her voice sharpened. You're an omega male living in poverty. Working a dead-end job. Barely supporting yourself and your sister. Suddenly you perform this dramatic rescue and a wealthy alpha takes interest in you. Convenient, isn't it? Jasmine Chin stood. Objection. Relevance. I'm establishing motive, Your Honor. The judge frowned. Proceed carefully. The defense attorney smiled. Mr. Ardent, how much money has Cade Moraine given you? None. He hasn't paid your bills? Covered your rent? Bought you things? No. But he's protecting you. Yes. Why? Noah's jaw clenched. Because I saved his life. Or because you're useful to him. The attorney leaned on the witness stand. You're the perfect weapon against Morrison Freight, aren't you? The sympathetic Omega who exposed their corruption. The hero who demands justice. That's not. Tell me, Mr. Ardent. What does Cade Moraine get out of protecting you? Noah's breath came faster. His hands shook. He wanted to scream at her, to tell her she had no idea what she was talking about. But Jasmine Chen's words echoed in his mind. Just tell the truth. He gets nothing, Noah said quietly. I find that hard to believe. Believe what you want. Noah met her eyes. I'm not here because of Cade Moraine. I'm here because Morrison Freight let people die. because they cut corners and falsified records and put profit over lives. And someone needs to hold them accountable. The courtroom went silent. The defense attorney's expression flickered. No further questions. Noah was excused. He walked out on shaking legs, his body trembling with adrenaline. In the hallway, Cade waited. He didn't speak, just pulled Noah into a side room and held him while Noah's breath came in gasps. "You did good," Cade whispered. "I don't feel good." "You were honest. That's what matters." Noah pulled back. "They think I'm using you. Let them think whatever they want." "Cade." "Noah." Cade's hands cupped his face. "I don't care what they think. I care about you." The words hung between them, raw and honest. Noah's chest ached. His Omega instinct screamed at him to submit, to accept, to stop fighting. "I can't do this," Noah whispered. "Do what?" "Be what you need me to be." Cade's expression softened. "I don't need you to be anything. I just need you to exist." Before Noah could respond, Jasmine Chun appeared in the doorway. "We have a problem." Cade's expression closed. "What?" "Someone leaked Noah's testimony to the press. It's already on social media." Noah's blood ran cold. Cade pulled out his phone, scrolling fast. His jaw clenched. "They're twisting it," Cade said. "Making it look like you're my puppet." "What do we do?" "Nothing." Cade pocketed his phone. "Let them talk. The truth will come out." "When?" "Soon." But soon wasn't fast enough. Over the next 3 days, Noah's face was everywhere. News articles, social media posts, opinion pieces debating whether he was a hero or a pawn. The comments were vicious. Omega gold digger using tragedy for attention. Poor little victim playing savior for a rich alpha daddy. How much is Moraine paying him to lie? Noah stopped reading after the first 100. He stayed in Cade's house. A different property, more secure, surrounded by guards and cameras. Amara called every day, her voice tight with worry. Noah told her he was fine. It was a lie. On the 4th day, Cade's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression went cold. "I'm on my way." He hung up and looked at Noah. "Morrison Freight's CEO just held a press conference. He's accusing me of corporate sabotage." "What?" "He claims I orchestrated the entire thing. The storm, the rescue, your testimony. All of it designed to destroy his company." Noah's chest tightened. "That's insane." "It's brilliant." Cade's smile was cold. "He's making me the villain, shifting blame. And people will believe him because I have money and power and you're just an Omega who saved some lives. So what do we do?" Cade's phone buzzed. He read the message and his expression changed. Something dark and satisfied crossing his features. "We don't do anything," Cade said. "Because I just got confirmation." "Of what?" Morrison Freight's CEO embezzled $12 million from federal emergency funds. Used it to buy property in the Caymans. And the evidence just landed in the FBI's hands. Noah stared at him. "How?" "I have resources." Cade's smile widened. "And I always collect my debts." The news broke 2 hours later. Federal agents raiding Morrison Freight headquarters. The CEO arrested at his home. Documents seized. Contracts frozen. The company's stock price collapsed. Noah watched it unfold on television, his hands shaking. "You did this," he whispered. "Yes." "Why?" Cade sat beside him, his gray eyes burning. "Because they hurt you, and I don't forgive that." Noah wanted to be angry, wanted to say it was too much, too far. But all he felt was exhausted. "I'm tired, Cade. I know. I just want this to be over." "It will be." Cade's hand covered his. Soon. That night, Noah collapsed. His body gave up. His mind shut down. He woke in a hospital bed. For in his arm, monitors beeping. Cade sat beside him, his face drawn. "You've been out for 16 hours, Cade said quietly. "What happened?" "Stress. Exhaustion. Your body couldn't take anymore." Noah closed his eyes. "I'm sorry. Don't apologize." Cade's voice was rough. "This is my fault. I should have protected you better." You can't protect me from everything. I can try. Noah looked at him. This alpha who'd invaded his life, who'd torn apart companies and moved mountains and declared Noah his. And he realized something that made his chest ache. He was falling in love, and he had no idea how to stop. When protection becomes possession and love looks like control, how do you tell the difference? Or does it even matter? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss how this unfolds. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt caught between gratitude and freedom? Let's talk about it. The storm within us. Noah spent 3 days in the hospital recovering. Cade never left his side except to take calls in the hallway, his voice low and dangerous as he conducted business that Noah didn't want to understand. Amara visited on the second day, her eyes red from crying. She held Noah's hand and didn't say anything about Cade hovering in the corner like a sentinel. "You scared me," she finally whispered. "I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for existing." Her grip tightened. "Just tell me you're okay." Noah wanted to lie, wanted to say everything was fine, that he had it all under control. But exhaustion had stripped away his defenses. "I don't know if I'm okay," he admitted. "I don't know what I am anymore." Amara looked at Cade then, her expression hardening. "Can we have a minute?" Cade's jaw tightened, but he nodded and left the room. When the door closed, Amara turned back to Noah with an intensity that reminded him she wasn't a child anymore. "What is he to you?" she asked. Noah's throat closed. "I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Noah stared at the ceiling. "He saved me, Amara. When everyone else abandoned me, when I was losing everything, he showed up. And I don't know if I'm grateful or terrified or both." "Do you love him?" The question hung in the sterile air. Noah's chest ached with the weight of it. "I think I'm starting to," he whispered. "And that scares me more than anything else." Amara was quiet for a long moment. Then she squeezed his hand. "Then you need to figure out what you want. Not what he wants. Not what you think you should want. What Noah Ardent actually wants for his life." "What if I don't know?" "Then you figure it out before you lose yourself completely." She left an hour later, hugging him hard enough to crack ribs. Cade returned immediately, like he'd been waiting just outside the door. He probably had been. "Your sister doesn't trust me," Cade said, settling back into the chair beside the bed. "Can you blame her?" "No." Cade's gray eyes were steady. "I wouldn't trust me either." Noah studied him. This alpha who commanded empires and destroyed enemies, who spoke in certainties and moved like controlled violence. But there was something else there too, something softer that only appeared when he looked at Noah. "Why me?" Noah asked. "You could have anyone. Why fixate on an Omega dispatcher from nowhere?" Cade was silent for so long Noah thought he wouldn't answer. Then he leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his voice dropping to something raw and honest. "Because when I was freezing to death in that bus, convinced I was going to die in the middle of nowhere, you appeared. You didn't ask who I was. Didn't ask what I could give you. You just helped." He paused. "I've spent 15 years surrounded by people who want something from me. Money, power, access. And then you drove into a storm and risked everything for strangers. For me, without expecting anything in return. That doesn't explain why you're doing all of this." "Yes, it does." Cade's hand found Noah's, his touch careful. "Because you reminded me what it feels like to matter as a person, not as a resource. And I've decided I'm not letting that go." Noah's breath caught. The honesty in those words was almost painful. He wanted to pull away, to protect himself from the vulnerability of being wanted this completely. But he was too tired to fight anymore. "What happens when you get bored of me?" Noah asked quietly. "That's not going to happen. You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Cade's grip tightened slightly. "Because I'm not interested in the idea of you, Noah. I'm interested in who you actually are. The man who volunteers at shelters and sends money to his sister and breaks rules when lives are at stake. The man who's stubborn and scared and brave all at once. That's who I want. And that doesn't change." Noah's eyes burned. He blinked hard, refusing to cry. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" Let someone take care of me. Let someone... He stopped, swallowing hard. I've been alone for so long. I don't know how to trust this. Cade stood and sat on the edge of the hospital bed, his presence warm and solid. Then don't trust it yet. Just let me prove it to you. One day at a time. Before Noah could respond, his doctor entered with discharge papers. The tests had come back clear, severe exhaustion and stress-induced collapse, but nothing permanent. He was free to go. Cade drove him to yet another property. This one a penthouse in downtown Missoula with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was beautiful and cold and nothing like Noah's tiny apartment in Pine Ridge. This is temporary, Cade said as they entered, until we figure out what you want long-term. What I want. Noah turned to face him. When do I get a choice in any of this? Now. Cade set down Noah's bag. You can stay here. You can go back to Pine Ridge. You can move anywhere in the country. I'll support whatever you decide. And if I decide I don't want you in my life? Pain flashed across Cade's face, quick and sharp. Then I'll respect that. I'll make sure you're safe and settled, and then I'll leave. Just like that. Just like that. Cade's voice was steady, but his hands clenched at his sides. I meant what I said, Noah. I want you to choose me, not because you're grateful or scared or have nowhere else to go, but because you actually want to be here. The words settled between them like a challenge. Noah's Omega instincts screamed at him to accept, to submit, to stop questioning the protection being offered. But his heart needed more than instinct. I need time, Noah said. Take all the time you need. That night, Noah stood at the window watching the city lights while Cade worked in another room. His phone buzzed. A message from Ms. Calloway at the shelter. Good news, the shelter reopened today. Turns out the violations were fabricated. Also, we received an anonymous donation. Enough to renovate the entire building and fund operations for 5 years. Any idea who might have done that? Noah's chest tightened. He walked to Cade's office and leaned against the doorframe. Cade looked up from his laptop, his expression guarded. The shelter, Noah said quietly. That was you. I don't know what you're talking about. Cade. Fine. Yes. Cade closed his laptop. They were shut down because of me, because I protected you. It seemed appropriate to fix that. How much did you donate? Does it matter? Yes. Cade's jaw tightened. $2 million. Noah's knees went weak. He grabbed the doorframe for support. That's insane. That's accountability. Cade stood, moving closer. I won't apologize for taking care of things that matter to you. You can't just throw money at every problem. Watch me. Noah wanted to be angry, wanted to rage at the casual way Cade wielded wealth like a weapon. But all he felt was overwhelmed. I don't know how to be with someone like you, Noah admitted. Someone like what? Someone who has so much power, who can change reality with a phone call. He gestured helplessly. I'm just me, a dispatcher who barely makes rent. Cade crossed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands framed Noah's face, gentle and firm all at once. You're not just anything, Cade said fiercely. You're the man who saved my life, who testified against corruption when it would have been easier to stay silent, who collapsed from exhaustion because you care too much about everyone except yourself. You're extraordinary, Noah, and I need you to start believing that. Noah's breath shuddered. Cade's gray eyes were so close, so intense, burning with something that looked like devotion. What if I disappoint you? Noah whispered. Impossible. What if I'm not strong enough for this? You're the strongest person I know. What if? Cade kissed him. It was soft and careful, a question rather than a demand. Noah's entire body went rigid with shock, his mind screaming at him to pull away, to maintain distance, to protect himself. But his heart made a different choice. He kissed back. Cade made a sound low in his throat, his hands sliding into Noah's hair. The kiss deepened, turned desperate, years of loneliness and fear melting between them. Noah's Omega biology flooded him with sensation. The alpha's scent, his strength, the overwhelming rightness of being claimed. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Cade rested his forehead against Noah's. "Stay," Cade whispered. "Not because you're scared or grateful, but because you want to." Noah's hands fisted in Cade's shirt. His mind raced with 1,000 reasons why this was a terrible idea. But his heart, stubborn and foolish and brave, had already decided. "I want to," Noah admitted. "God help me, I want to." Cade smiled. A real smile, soft and genuine and devastating. And for the first time in years, Noah felt like he might actually be home. When love finally breaks through fear, does it heal you? Or just give you something new to lose? Drop a comment and let me know what you think happens next. 3 months passed like a fever dream. Noah moved into Cade's penthouse officially, though he kept his own room for the first month before admitting that was pointless. He woke up in Cade's bed anyway, drawn there by biology and something deeper he was still afraid to name. The lawsuit disappeared completely. Morrison Freight Corporation folded, its CEO sentenced to 15 years for embezzlement and fraud. The shelter in Pine Ridge thrived, newly renovated and fully funded. Amara finished her semester with a 4.0 GPA, and Noah tried to figure out who he was now that survival wasn't his only goal. It wasn't easy. Cade worked constantly, running an empire from behind sleek glass and steel. Noah tried to find his place in that world and failed spectacularly. He didn't understand corporate politics or shipping logistics or the careful dance of power that governed Cade's life. What he did understand was people. So he started volunteering again. Not at the shelter, that felt too raw, too connected to everything he'd lost. Instead, he found a youth center in Missoula that needed help with their after-school program. He showed up 3 days a week and taught kids how to code, how to file taxes, how to survive when the world felt impossible. Cade never questioned it, never suggested Noah should do something more befitting an alpha's partner. He just made sure Noah had transportation and security and came home to a warm meal. It should have been perfect, but Noah felt like he was drowning. "You're doing it again," Amara said during one of their weekly video calls. "Doing what?" "Disappearing inside yourself." She leaned closer to her camera. "Talk to me." Noah sat on the penthouse balcony, the city sprawling below him. "I don't know how to be this person." "What person?" "Someone who's taken care of. Someone who doesn't have to fight for every scrap." He rubbed his face. "I spent my whole life in survival mode. And now that I'm not, I don't know what to do with myself." "Have you talked to Cade about this?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I'm terrified he'll realize I'm not worth all of this," Noah thought. But he couldn't say that out loud. "He's busy," Noah said instead. "He doesn't need me dumping my existential crisis on him." "Noah," Amara's voice went sharp. "That man rewrote reality to keep you safe. I'm pretty sure he can handle some feelings. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is. You're just scared." She was right. Noah knew she was right. But fear was a familiar companion, easier to hold onto than hope. That night, Cade came home late, his expression tight with stress. He collapsed onto the couch beside Noah and closed his eyes. "Long day?" Noah asked. "Nightmare day." Cade's hand found Noah's without looking. "Contract negotiations in Shanghai fell through. We lost a major shipping route. My brothers are breathing down my neck about expansion strategies." Noah blinked. "Brothers?" Cade's eyes opened. "Did I not mention I have brothers?" "No, you definitely didn't mention that." "Triplets." Cade's smile was wry. "Kieran and Kyrie. They help run the company. We're not close." "Why not?" "Because they think I'm too soft, too willing to compromise." "Too?" He gestured vaguely. "Human." Noah studied him. Cade looked exhausted, the carefully controlled mask slipping to reveal someone younger and more vulnerable than he usually allowed. "Tell me about them," Noah said softly. So Cade did. He talked about growing up as one of 3 identical alphas, always competing, always measured against each other. About their father who built the shipping empire from nothing and demanded perfection from his sons. About Kieran who was ruthless and brilliant, and Kyrie, who was charming and calculating. They don't understand why I'm here, Kate said quietly. In Missoula, away from headquarters. They think I'm distracted, compromised. Because of me. Yes. Noah's chest tightened. Maybe they're right. They're not. Cade sat up, his gray eyes intense. You didn't compromise me, Noah. You saved me. In more ways than you know. I'm just an Omega dispatcher. You're my Omega dispatcher. Cade's hand cupped Noah's jaw. And you're the only thing in my life that feels real. The words should have been romantic. Should have made Noah's heart soar. But all he felt was the weight of them. The pressure of being someone's anchor when he could barely keep himself afloat. I need to tell you something, Noah said. Okay. I don't know how to do this. Be with you. Live this life. I feel like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Cade was quiet for a long moment. Then he moved closer, his presence warm and solid. What do you want to be? I don't know. That's the problem. Then let's figure it out together. Cade's voice was gentle. You don't have to be anything except yourself, Noah. That's all I want. What if myself isn't enough? It always has been. From the moment you drove into that storm. Noah's eyes burned. He looked away, blinking hard. Your brothers are going to hate me. Probably. Cade smiled slightly. But I don't particularly care what they think. You should. They're your family. So are you. The words landed like a bomb. Noah's breath caught. Family. He'd never had that with anyone except Amara. Never imagined he could. Cade. I love you. The words were simple, honest, devastating. I've loved you since you wrapped me in a thermal blanket and told me to breathe. And I know you're scared. I know you don't trust this. But I need you to know that I'm not going anywhere. Noah's defenses crumbled. Tears spilled over hot and fast. Cade pulled him close, holding him while he broke apart. I love you too, Noah choked out between sobs. And it terrifies me. I know. Cade's hand stroked his hair. But we'll figure it out. Together. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other while the city glittered below. Noah felt raw and vulnerable and somehow impossibly safe. 2 weeks later, Cade's brothers arrived. Noah knew the moment they entered the penthouse because the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. He was in the kitchen making coffee when 3 identical alphas walked in. Cade in the center, flanked by 2 men who moved with the same controlled grace but carried it differently. Kieran was colder, his gray eyes calculating as they swept over Noah. Kyrie was warmer, his smile sharp and assessing. Both of them radiated the kind of power that made Noah's Omega instincts scream warnings. So this is him, Kieran said. His voice was like Cade's but harder, more cutting. The Omega who derailed your judgment. Careful. Cade's voice went dangerous. You're a guest in my home. Your home. Kyrie laughed, moving to lean against the counter near Noah. Since when do you nest, brother? Noah set down his coffee mug slowly. I'm Noah. Nice to meet you. Noah Ardent. Kieran pulled out his phone, scrolling. Former logistics dispatcher. Suspended for protocol violations. Sued for corporate espionage. Currently unemployed and living off our brother's wealth. Kieran, Cade warned. What? I'm just listing facts. Kieran's eyes locked on Noah. Tell me, do you have any skills beyond rescue operations and playing damsel in distress? Noah's hands clenched. Every instinct told him to submit, to apologize, to make himself smaller. But Amara's words echoed in his mind. Stop apologizing for existing. I have a degree in computer science, Noah said evenly. I code. I teach. I volunteer with at-risk youth. And I saved your brother's life while you were safely behind a desk somewhere. Silence. Kyrie burst out laughing. Oh, I like him. Kieran's expression didn't change. Cade, can we speak privately? No. Cade moved to stand beside Noah, his hand finding the small of Noah's back. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of him. Fine. Kieran's voice went cold. The board is concerned. You've been distracted for months. Missed meetings. delegated responsibilities, all while playing house with an Omega who has no business in our world. Our world? Cade's voice was deadly quiet. Last I checked, I own 40% of this company. I founded the expansion into northern routes. I built half of what we have. So don't lecture me about what business anyone has in my world. This isn't about business, Kyrie interjected smoothly. It's about perception. You're one of 3 heirs to the Moraine Empire. People are watching, and right now they're seeing weakness. Because I fell in love? Because you chose an Omega over the family legacy, Kieran said bluntly. The words hung in the air like poison. Noah felt each one land, confirming every fear he'd buried. He was the weakness, the distraction, the liability. Get out, Cade said softly. Kieran raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? I said get out of my home. Now. Cade, Kyrie started. Both of you, leave. They left, their expensive shoes clicking against marble. When the door closed, Cade turned to Noah, his expression stricken. I'm sorry. They had no right. They're not wrong, Noah interrupted quietly. Yes, they are. I am a distraction, Cade. I don't belong in your world. I don't understand corporate politics or legacy or any of it. I'm just, he gestured helplessly. I'm just me. And that's not enough. Stop. Cade grabbed his shoulders. You are enough. You've always been enough. Your brothers don't think so. My brothers are terrified. Noah blinked. What? They're scared that I found something they never will. Something that matters more than money or power or legacy. Cade's hands slid up to cup Noah's face. They're scared that I'm happy, and that makes me dangerous to their carefully controlled world. That's not. It is. Cade's smile was sad. We were raised to believe that love is weakness, that caring about anything except the company is failure. And I've spent 15 years believing that, until you proved me wrong. Noah's throat tightened. I don't want to be the reason you lose your family. You're not. They're losing me because they refuse to see that there's more to life than quarterly profits and board meetings. Cade pressed his forehead to Noah's. I choose you, Noah, every single time. Even if it costs you everything, it already gave me everything. Noah kissed him then, desperate and grateful and terrified. Cade kissed back like Noah was the only thing anchoring him to reality. When they broke apart, breathless, Noah made a decision. I want to meet your father, he said. Cade went very still. What? Your father. The one who built all of this. If your brothers think I'm a threat, I want to face the person they learned it from. Noah, that's not a good idea. Why not? Because my father makes my brothers look gentle. Cade's expression was guarded. He doesn't believe in love. Doesn't believe in weakness. And he definitely won't approve of you. Then he needs to learn. Noah's voice was firm. Because I'm not going anywhere. And if I'm going to be part of your life, I need to stop hiding from the difficult parts. Cade stared at him for a long moment. Then he smiled, small and proud and devastating. All right, he said. But don't say I didn't warn you. 3 days later, they flew to Seattle. Moraine Shipping Headquarters was a tower of glass and steel that dominated the skyline. Noah felt small walking through the lobby, surrounded by people in expensive suits who moved with purpose and power. Cade held his hand the entire way. They took a private elevator to the top floor. The doors opened onto an office that looked more like a throne room. Massive windows, dark wood, leather furniture arranged to intimidate. And behind the desk sat a man who looked like an older, harder version of Cade. Marcus Moraine didn't stand when they entered. He studied Noah with cold gray eyes that missed nothing. So you're the Omega, he said. His voice was deep, commanding. The one who's convinced my son to abandon his responsibilities. Father, Cade warned. I'm Noah Ardent, Noah said, stepping forward. And I haven't convinced Cade of anything. He makes his own choices. Does he? Marcus leaned back in his chair. Because from where I'm sitting, he's been making very poor choices lately. Neglecting the company. Alienating his brothers. All 4. he gestured dismissively. For you. Noah's Omega instincts screamed at him to submit, to apologize, to make himself small before this alpha who radiated dominance. But he'd spent his whole life making himself small. He was done. Your son saved my life, Noah said clearly, and I saved his. We're bound by something deeper than business or legacy or whatever metric you use to measure worth. And if you can't see that, then maybe you're the one making poor choices. Silence. Marcus's eyes widened fractionally. Behind Noah, Cade made a choked sound that might have been a laugh. You have courage, Marcus said finally. I'll give you that. I have nothing to lose, Noah corrected. You can't take away my job or my home or my family because I never had those things. All I have is Cade, and I'm not losing him because you're afraid of losing control. Marcus stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. He stopped in front of Noah, towering over him. My son is worth billions, Marcus said quietly. He controls shipping routes that move half the freight in the Northern Hemisphere. He has power, influence, a legacy that spans generations. What do you bring to his life besides distraction? I bring him happiness, Noah said simply. Something I don't think you understand. For a moment, Noah thought Marcus might strike him. The alpha's expression went cold and dangerous, his presence overwhelming. Then he laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. You're right, Marcus said. I don't understand happiness. I understand success, survival, building something that lasts, and love. He said the word like it was poison. Love destroys all of that. No, Cade said, moving to stand beside Noah. Fear destroys it. You taught us to be afraid of anything we couldn't control. And that's why Kieran and Kyrie are miserable. That's why you're alone. And that's why I'm choosing differently. Marcus's expression hardened. If you walk out of here with him, you walk out of this family. Then I guess I'm walking out. The words landed like a bomb. Noah's chest constricted. He grabbed Cade's arm. No, Noah said. Don't do this. Not for me. I'm not doing it for you, Cade said gently. I'm doing it for me. Because I deserve to be happy. And so do you. He turned to his father. I'll still run my division. Still meet my responsibilities to the company. But I'm done pretending that's all I am. I'm done sacrificing my life for a legacy that only knows how to measure worth in profit margins. Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he returned to his desk and sat down heavily. Get out, he said quietly. They left. In the elevator, Noah's hands shook. Cade pulled him close, his own breathing unsteady. I'm sorry, Noah whispered. Don't be. Cade's voice was rough. That was 15 years overdue. But your family. You're my family now. Cade pulled back to look at him. You and Amara. That's all I need. Noah wanted to argue. Wanted to say it wasn't enough. That Cade would regret this. That love couldn't sustain them against the weight of everything they'd lost. But looking into Cade's gray eyes, seeing the certainty there, he believed. Maybe love was enough. Maybe it had to be. When you have to choose between love and legacy, which one saves you, and which one sets you free. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Comment below and tell me, have you ever had to choose between family and freedom? 6 months later, Noah stood in front of the Pine Ridge Community Center, the old shelter transformed. The building gleamed with fresh paint, new windows, a sign that read, Ardent Moraine Community Outreach Center. Inside, renovations had created a full commercial kitchen, a medical clinic, job training facilities, and housing assistance offices. It was everything Noah had ever dreamed of, and it terrified him. You're doing it again, Cade said, coming up behind him and wrapping his arms around Noah's waist. Doing what? Doubting yourself. Cade's chin rested on Noah's shoulder. This is yours, Noah. You built this. You paid for it. I funded it. You designed it. You fought for it. You convinced the city council and the state to support it. All I did was write checks. Noah leaned back into Cade's warmth. I still can't believe it's real. Believe it. Cade turned him around gently. You're about to cut the ribbon in front of the entire town. Try to look confident. The ceremony was small but meaningful. Ms. Calloway stood by the door, tears streaming down her face. Amara had driven in from college with her roommate. Even Lieutenant Morrison from the police department had shown up, her expression approving. Noah cut the ribbon with shaking hands. The crowd applauded, not loudly, not overwhelmingly, but genuine. These were his people, the forgotten ones, the struggling ones, the ones who understood what it meant to need help and be too proud to ask. "Thank you," Noah said into the microphone Cade had insisted they set up. "This center represents something I learned the hard way, that asking for help isn't weakness, that community isn't charity, and that sometimes saving others starts with letting yourself be saved." His eyes found Cade in the crowd. The alpha stood with his arms crossed, his expression soft with pride. "Someone once told me I deserved better than just surviving," Noah continued. "At the time, I didn't believe them. But this," he gestured to the building behind him, "this is what happens when you start believing you deserve more. When you stop apologizing for existing and start fighting for what matters." More applause. People moved inside to tour the facilities. Noah stood on the steps, watching them, his chest tight with emotion. "That was a good speech," a voice said behind him. Noah turned. A man stood there, tall, blonde, wearing an expensive suit that seemed out of place in Pine Ridge. His eyes were familiar in a way that made Noah's pulse spike. "Kyrie," Noah said carefully, "in the flesh." Kyrie smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I came to see what my brother's been wasting his inheritance on." "It's not a waste, isn't it?" Kyrie moved closer, his voice dropping. "A community center in a dying town. Feel-good nonsense that won't change anything structural. You're putting band-aids on bullet wounds, Noah. Maybe, but band-aids still help." Kyrie studied him for a long moment. "You really believe that, don't you? That small gestures matter. That kindness changes things." "I know it does." "How?" "Because someone showed me kindness when I needed it most," Noah said quietly. "And it saved my life. If the center saves even one person, then it's worth every dollar." Kyrie's expression flickered, something soft and uncertain crossing his features before the mask snapped back into place. "Cade's inside. He doesn't know I'm here." "Why did you come?" "To understand." Kyrie looked at the building, then back at Noah. "To understand what he saw in you that made him willing to lose everything." "He didn't lose everything. He lost our father. Kieran barely speaks to him. The board is circling like sharks, waiting for him to slip up so they can force him out." Kyrie's voice was tight. "All of that for you. So I needed to see if you were worth it." Noah's chest ached. And I still don't know." Kyrie's smile was sad. "But I'm starting to understand why he chose you. You make him happy. I've never seen him happy before." "Then why are you telling me this like it's a problem?" "Because happiness doesn't pay bills, doesn't protect you from enemies, doesn't build empires." Kyrie stepped closer, his voice dropping to something almost gentle. "My brother loves you, but love won't save you when the wolves come. And they're coming, Noah. Rival companies, board members who want him gone. People who see you as his weakness. Let them come. You say that now, but when they start threatening your sister, when they destroy the center, when they make Cade choose between you and everything he's built." Kyrie's gray eyes, so like Cade's but colder, locked onto Noah's. "What will you do then?" Noah wanted to have an answer, wanted to say he'd fight, he'd win, he'd protect everything he cared about. But the truth was more complicated. "I'll do what I've always done," Noah said finally. "I'll survive, and I'll make sure the people I love survive too." Kyrie stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Maybe you are strong enough for this. Maybe." He turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I hope my brother's right about you. He deserves something good in his life. We all do." He walked away before Noah could respond. Inside the center, Cade found him standing by the window, watching people file through the new facilities. His arms came around Noah from behind, solid and warm. "Your brother was here," Noah said. "I know. I saw him leave." Cade's voice was quiet. "What did he say?" "That we're not safe. That enemies are coming. That loving me makes you vulnerable." "He's not wrong." Noah turned in his arms. "That doesn't scare you?" "It terrifies me." Cade's hands cupped Noah's face. "But not enough to let you go. Never enough for that. What if he's right? What if I'm your weakness? Then I'll be weak." Cade's smile was soft. "I spent 15 years being strong, Noah. Being controlled. Being invulnerable. And I was miserable. I'd rather be weak and happy than strong and alone." Noah's eyes burned. "I love you. I know." Cade kissed him softly. "I love you too." The center's grand opening was a success. Over 300 people came through in the first.